Here's a story no one asked me to tell, but I'm going to tell it anyway. A couple of years ago, I went to a party, and it was a family party, and a cousin of mine was at this party. And unfortunately, she had lost her husband a couple of years before. She was in her 50s, and she couldn't even get through a sentence talking about him or anything for that matter, without just like bursting into tears, which everyone grieves in a different way, and that was fine. So I talked to her for a few moments, and I was like, okay, I hope everything gets better and that kind of thing. Go home, and in the middle of the night, I'm woken up with this dream that says, you need to hire her at your venue. Well, I do weddings for a living, okay? I plan, execute, and everything else, weddings. And I thought, I can't bring her here. This is a happy business. I can't hire her. Next night, go to sleep, and I'm not a person who has dreams, have the same dream. So finally I said, all right, I'm gonna give her a call. I know she's gonna say no anyway, and I didn't need help. I didn't need an assistant. So I call her up, of course she says no. About a month later, she calls me, she says, you know, I really think it would help me to get out of the house and come and work in a happy business. Thinking, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this? But I said, okay, every Tuesday and Thursday, you can come in. Well, I had an appointment to talk with my friend Mary Acino on the morning that my cousin was going to start. And as I've mentioned her before, and she's also on TikTok, she is a medium. And I was really just calling to talk to her. We're friends. And so it was a friendly call. We're just, going to catch up and that kind of thing. And I was actually going to complain about my cousin coming to work for me. So she says, before we start, there's this little man who's jumping up and down, who is like haunting my dreams. And I said, oh, okay. She says, do you know a little man named Gene? I said, yes, I do. That was my cousin's husband. She says, he has a message for your cousin. And I'm like, okay, what is it? He has 3 things he wants to tell her. He wants to tell her about the rocks that have hearts on them. He wants to tell her about the quarters in the closet. And he wants to tell her about how he knows she wraps up with him every night. Said, okay. Thinking to myself, my cousin's very religious. She is not going to take this well. So I kind of held on to that information for about a week because I really was afraid to tell her. I didn't want to upset her. So about a week later, we're sitting there, and by this point, I thought, wow, this is going to work out. I mean, she's the help that I didn't know I needed. And I thought that what Mary had told me was very foolish. But I said to her, I have this friend, and we talk a lot of times. And last week was your first day, and we were just going to get together and talk on the phone. She lives in New York. But she actually had a message for you. And she says, for me? What did she say? I said, she told me that Jean had been coming to her and that I had to give you a message. She says, did you tell her that I was coming to work here? I said, no, I didn't tell her. I said, okay, the first one's kind of silly. She said to tell you about the rocks. And they were painted. And she looks at me and tears start coming down her eyes. And I said, then she told me about quarters you keep in your closet. And then she said, he knows you wrap up with him every night. And this is what she told me. First, she told me, this is going to heal me beyond anything you could possibly imagine. She said the rocks were rocks that our 3 grandchildren, painted for him. And they came to him on that last Father's Day before he passed away, and they handed him the little rocks, and it was right before he died. She said, the quarters are the quarters that I'm saving in my closet because I'm putting them in like little wrappers so that I can continue saving for the trip that he and I wanted to take our grandchildren to Disney World. And she says, and I wrap up with him every night because I took all of his shirts from when he worked at the post office and even shirts that he cut the grass with, and I made a quilt. And every night I take that quilt and I wrap it around me. So I got a message for her. And you might have a message for someone, and you may feel silly. I don't want to say this because it might sound silly. They might laugh at me, or they might like just get mad at me and say that didn't come from God or somewhere. But, you know, it really made a difference for her. And I think that there's someone listening today that you can make a difference for someone. And I hope that this helps you to be your authentic self and to make a difference in someone's life. Have a wonderful day, and as always, the world's a better place because you're in it.